All right, today we are diving deep, and I mean really deep, into one of the most powerful and foundational chapters in the entire Quran, Surah Al-Ikhlas. It's just 4 short verses, but wow, it packs a punch. It delivers a complete, uncompromising definition of God that is the very bedrock of Islamic belief. So, let's break it down together. So here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to go verse by verse, word by word, really unpacking the incredible linguistic and theological depth here. By the end, we'll have built a complete picture of the profound theology this tiny chapter reveals. Okay, so before we even touch the verses themselves, you've got to understand the why. Why was this chapter revealed? Its importance, its power is all rooted in the very specific questions it was sent to answer. People often call this chapter God's identity card. And I want you to just think about that for a second. That's such a powerful idea, right? This isn't a story, it's not a list of rules, it is a pure, concentrated, crystal clear declaration of divine identity. It was designed to answer the single most important question you could ever ask. Who or what is God? You see, this exact question was put to the Prophet Muhammad, and not just by one group. You had polytheists, you had people from Jewish and Christian traditions. They all came to him and essentially asked, so, this Lord you keep talking about, describe him to us. What's his family tree? What's he made of? This chapter was the definitive, divine answer to all of them. All right, let's get into the first verse. This is the cornerstone. Everything else that follows is built right on top of this one statement. Right off the bat, it starts with a command, qul, which means say. God is instructing a proclamation. This isn't being presented as a maybe or a theory for debate. It's a fundamental truth that must be declared out loud. He is Allah Ahad. Now, even the first word there, the pronoun huwa, or he, is so incredibly significant. Theologically, it points to a reality that is absolutely definite, completely known, but at the same time, beyond our full human perception. It's like pointing to an absolute unseen, whose existence is a certainty, even if his full essence is something we can never truly grasp. And that brings us to, without a doubt, the most critical word in this entire chapter, ahad. Now, we translate it as one, but its meaning is so much deeper, so much more profound than just the number one. It means a oneness that is absolute, unique, and completely indivisible. And this is a distinction that is just so critical to understand. You see, the Quran could have used the Arabic word wahid. Wahid means the number one, the one that starts a count, 1, 2, 3. But if it used wahid, it would imply that a 2 could exist. Instead, it uses ahad. Ahad is not a number, it's a concept. It means uniquely one. It means one in a way that negates the very possibility of there ever being a second. It means absolute, unparalleled singularity. So think about what this one word accomplishes. It's so precise. It completely refutes any idea that God is made up of parts, like a trinity, or that there are multiple gods in a pantheon. No. It establishes an essence that is simple, uncompounded, and absolutely unique. This, right here, is the core of what's known as Tawḥīd, pure, undiluted monotheism. Okay, so let's move on to the next verse and see how it builds on that solid foundation of absolute oneness. If God is ahad, uniquely one, then what is his relationship with everything else in existence? The second verse is Allahu al-Samad. And wow, this one word, al-Samad, is so incredibly rich with meaning. I mean, entire books have been written just trying to unpack this single term. It's often translated as the eternal or the absolute, but that barely scratches the surface. As-Samad really defines a being who is completely self-sufficient, independent. He needs absolutely nothing. But at the exact same time, he is the one upon whom all of creation utterly depends for its very existence, for its sustenance. Every need, every desire, every plea, whether you realize it or not, is ultimately directed towards him. He's the final destination and the ultimate cause of everything. So just think about what this implies. As Al-Samed, he is the uncaused cause. The word itself has this feeling of being solid, full, without any of the hollowness or neediness that defines everything that's been created. He doesn't need to eat or drink or sleep. So if Ahad defines God's unity in relation to himself, Al-Samed defines his relationship to all of us, to all of creation, his complete independence versus our total, absolute dependence. Now the surah makes a brilliant pivot. After affirming God's nature with Ahad and Al-Samad, the next verse starts to actively negate, to tear down specific, common misconceptions about him. It makes the definition even sharper by telling us what he is not. And this third verse is just this incredibly powerful, direct, and unambiguous statement. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He does not give birth, nor was he born. It's a clear-cut, absolute denial of any kind of divine family tree. You have to remember, this verse wasn't revealed in a philosophical vacuum. It was a surgical, precise refutation of specific theological ideas that were really common at the time, and frankly, still exist today. Let's break this down. The first part, lam yalid, he does not beget, is a direct answer to anyone who attributed children to God. This includes the pre-Islamic Arabs who said the angels were his daughters, and of course it addresses Christian theology about Jesus being the Son of God. Then you have the second part, walam yulad, nor is he born. This is just as crucial. It establishes that God has no origin story, no parents, no beginning. He isn't the product of some earlier cause. This one statement, with its two parts, just completely lifts God out of the biological and causal chains that define every single created thing in the universe. And that brings us to the final verse. This is the grand conclusion. It's the statement that seals the deal, closing any possible remaining loopholes for someone to try and compare anything to him. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And there is not, and there never has been, anything or anyone that is comparable, equivalent, or co-equal to him. This is it, the final, sweeping declaration of his total incomparability. The key word to focus on here is kufuwan. What does that mean? It means an equal, a peer, a match, something that you could even put in the same category for the sake of comparison. And the verse says, nope, no kufuwan for God exists. And this incomparability is total. It's not just a vague idea. It applies to his very essence, his thought. It applies to his attributes, his sifat, like his infinite power or knowledge. And it applies to his actions, his afal. No one creates like he does. No one sustains the universe like he does. This verse truly completes the circle that started with the word ahad, making it absolutely clear that there is nothing, in any way, shape, or form, that is like him. So let's bring it all together. Let's pull back and look at all four verses not as separate lines, but as a single, perfectly designed structure. When you do that, you can see how they form these unbreakable pillars of pure monotheism, of Tawḥīd. Just look at the logical perfection here. It's beautiful. Verse 1 establishes his absolute oneness. Verse 2 defines his relationship with all of creation. Verse 3 denies any likeness through family or lineage. And verse 4 denies any likeness or equivalence whatsoever. Each verse locks into the last, building this airtight, comprehensive, and totally impenetrable definition of God. So I'll leave you with this final thought. In a world filled with incredibly complex philosophies, ancient mythologies, modern spiritual ideas, how does this ridiculously concise four-verse declaration still stand out? How does its radical insistence on absolute oneness, on total self-sufficiency, and on utter incomparability challenge our own modern ideas about what existence and divinity even mean? It's a definition that is just as philosophically earth-shattering today as it was 14 centuries ago.